Hey guys, Alicia here with Wilder. We are going to be going through a quick, simple, easy combo of exercises that you can do after a day of hiking when you are at camp. I'm going to be doing a lying on your sleeping pad version of this, but I also wanted to do a standing version in case, maybe this is something you do at lunchtime with a break on the trail when you've gotten your hiking boots off, which is important, and I will touch on why that's important, but maybe you're not sitting down or you don't have a smooth piece of snow of ground to use, because that can happen a fair bit when you're out hiking on the trails. All right, you guys, I'm going to be demoing part of these with a hiking pole, but if you don't take one when you're out hiking, then you can always use a tree or you can just balance. Now, something to remember is at the end of a long day hiking, end of a long day doing anything, balance and coordination are our first two kind of athletic qualities to go. So you might find that you don't have as much balance at the end of that day hiking as you do at the beginning. This circuit, we are going to do an exercise to work on our hip mobility and maintain that while we're hiking. We're going to focus heavy on those quads and hip flexors because they work a lot. Then we are going to get into some activities for the lower leg because they can get bound up, especially when we're in that hiking boot all day. And we're going to finish with one of my favorite exercises for checking in with where you are flexibility and mobility wise. So let's start with our first exercise. Ideally, you remember these so that when you get to your lunchtime spot or your destination for the day, you can do them. So I'm going to try to make them memorable and short and effective. But we're going to start with articulated hip circles. So what you'll do is either balanced or using a trusty pole, you're going to bring your knee across your body as far as you can without your hips moving and as high as you can. Then you're going to spread your leg open to the side, see how high we can get the knee here. Then I want you to see how high you can get the ankle without those hips moving. And then drive that foot back behind you. You should feel your hamstrings working here. And you're going to start to move through that range of motion a few times to just kind of see where you're at mobility-wise. Once you've done it a couple times without those hips staying totally still, you can try and push mobility just a little bit. So drive that knee higher. Feel the stretch across your glutes. Drive it open. Feel that inner part of your thigh. Drive it high. Feel action here and stretch through the groin and then to the back. We'll do 10 of these total. So 10 articulated hip circles. Then you're going to go on to your second side. Articulated hip circles on that second side. Compare it to your first and pay attention. Am I feeling stiffer on this side? Was I on like a sideways scree slope for a long time and so I'm really open on one side and super tight and contracted on the other? Remember to push that mobility for your last few reps. And then we get to go into our next exercise. Exercise number 2. Active quad and hip flexor stretch. So either balanced or with your trusty pole, grab your ankle. I'll turn sideways for this guy. And now here's the trick that makes this stretch 10 times more effective. You're going to push your ankle into your hand by using your quads. And for 10 seconds, that should extend the hip. 3, 2, 1. Then you're going to relax and let that stretch happen. Press in again for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let that stretch happen. Press in again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let that stretch happen. And one more time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let that stretch happen. Let's do this on side number 2. Catch that foot. If we're really tight and we can't quite get to our ankle there, you can use strap from your backpack to extend, or a sweater even, to extend it out so that you don't have to quite pull as hard. All right, pushing into your hand. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Good. And you want about like a 6 out of 10 in terms of tension. 3, 2, 1. Relax. Good. And again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. Last time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Relax. All right, this last one is the reason I am barefoot. Now, if you have camp shoes, you can do this in those. If you need to take one hiking boot off at a time and have this leg you're standing on have a hiking boot on, then that is totally fine. But for the health of your feet and your lower legs and your ability to hike day after day after day, take your hiking boots off at the end of the day, stretch and like mobilize your lower leg and your ankles, and your feet actually too. I promise you will not regret it. Way we are going to do that today is just with a spread 'em and stretch 'em kind of situation. So I'll show you here, and then you can do it on your own when you're on the trails. Basically, I want to put my foot into as spread out of a position as I can, and then I'm going to both point my toe and flex my toe, or flex my ankle and point my ankle in that flex position. And then in that curled position, I'm gonna do both. And what you'll find is there's gonna be a couple muscles that are tight. You might get a tingy little bit of cramping, but that's okay. We're gonna finalize it, kind of spread it all out after with some circles. So I'll show you how to do this. What I want you to do, lift one leg up in the air. You are going to, as if that's your foot, you're gonna spread your foot as wide as you can. And this might be really hard after a day in hiking boots when they're all enclosed in their little tomb. And then from there, I want you to point your toe and in that spread position. Now, keep your foot spread and you're going to flex your ankle. You might find that that's kind of hard to do. You really want to squeeze your foot together when you do that. We're gonna do 5 points and spreads, or sorry, points and flexes with our toes spread. And one more. Doing this with my hand too, because I find that whenever I try and do it with my feet, I just do it with my hands anyways. Now the next thing we're gonna do is scrunch up our foot. So it's really scrunched. Then we are going to try and point the toes, well, point the ankle, extend the ankle, plantar flex the ankle, and then flex the ankle with those toes crunched. This is the one at the end of a long hiking day that I completely get cramping. Good, and now we're gonna finish up by just doing some figure 8s with our ankle to move it through maybe all those ranges of motion that it has not seen. Good, all right, let's move on to our second side. You might wanna shake up those hips a little bit. So, spread those toes and then point the foot. Whew. Yeah, I'm getting cramping even now just after a workout. And flex the foot with those toes spread. That's once, twice, 3, 4, keeping them spread, and 5. And now we get to crunch up our toes, really smush them, and still extend that ankle, plantar flex that ankle, and then lift it up. 4 and 5. Awesome. Okay, it is time for our final exercise, and that's just going to be a low squat with rotation. So this is going to help us see where our hips are at, and then also it's going to introduce a little motion through the spine, which can sometimes feel locked up a little bit if you've been wearing a heavy pack all day. So you're going to take your regular squat position. So feet are going to be underneath where my shoulders are. Draw a straight line down, that's where my feet go. And my toes can be turned out slightly if that feels best for me. Then I'm gonna drop myself into a low squat. All right, so now that I'm in that squat position, a hand goes onto one foot, I rotate up, and then I get to drop back into my squat and rotate the other way. There's a temptation to come up in the hips as I do this, but try and drop your hips low. You're gonna bend forward a fair bit, that's okay, but just aiming for a gentle rotation through your spine and a really good deep opening through the hips. Spending time in this exaggerated position is really good because we're kind of in our mid-range while we're hiking. All day, we're kind of through like from, you know, this much to this much hip flexion, and so to go deep into hip flexion is a really good idea. So let's quickly review. For our standing camp mobility, I want you to work on hips, hip flexors and quads, lower legs, and feet. You're gonna be doing that through a number of quick stretches that you can remember. The first is our articulated hip circles, really feeling that femur explore that hip socket. 10 of those per side. Then we get to do our active quad stretch, pushing your ankle into your hand, 5 seconds at a time. For 5 reps is good. You should really feel this open up the front of your hip. Then we get to point those toes, or spread those toes, I should say, and go through pointing and flexing the ankle. Then we curl the toes, point and flex the ankle. Then we get to finish up, after we've done both sides, in a beautiful, lovely, deep squat stretch with active rotation, so our spine gets opened up and we get that end range of motion through our hips. I hope you have a wonderful day out on the trails and that these movements help you feel fresh and stoked the next day you are out there.